So I bought the camera that everybody told me not to buy. As some of you may know, my Voigtlander R that I had recently broke. I was left without a rangefinder, and I felt a gap in my heart. I obviously had the lens that the Voigtlander 35mm color scope are, so I just really needed to buy a body. I found this camera online, super cheap, £50, with a lens. I asked people online, people who are very knowledgeable about cameras, whether I should buy this or not, and 98% of the people were just like, don't even waste your time, they're not reliable, it's a ripoff of a Leica, it's made cheaply, just don't do it. And I was like, okay. And I just kept on asking more people. And eventually a friend of mine, Sam Atkins, was like, get it, I've got one, it's great. And I was like, sweet, that's all I need. I just needed one person to be like, great. So I went and I got the camera, and this is it. This is the little Zorki. Look how cute it is. It's a Soviet-Russian replica of the Leica 2. This, apparently, the person said they bought from Ukraine and it had never been used. I highly doubt that, because these were made between 1951 and 1953, which would make this camera over 70 years old. I doubt it's gone over 70 years without being used. However, there is not a scratch on it. It is absolutely perfect. I think there's a bit of scuffing there, but it's pretty pristine. I've put my 35mm on. It's got a 50mm, but it's a cheaper 50mm. It's probably good. I've taken one or two shots with it. I am motoring through this film to make sure that everything works. The shutter speeds look like they work properly, but I don't really know. It's interesting. For anyone who doesn't know this camera, I'll run through it quickly. There are two viewfinders. One viewfinder is the one that you'll focus through. So you'll look through that and you'll be able to focus. It's got a little patch that you can adjust your focus on. And then your other viewfinder is to compose. And there are no guidelines in the viewfinder, no frame lines. So my Bessa had frame lines for 35mm, for 50mm, for 85, and I think 135 or something. So you knew what your frame was. This has no frame lines in it. I'm assuming it was meant to be paired with a 50mm. I might be wrong. I'm open to correction. It was meant to be paired with a 50mm, so I'm assuming that the frame is generally a 50mm. Obviously, I'm shooting with a 35, so I'm just taking that into account, that my frame is probably going to be a little bit wider. It obviously has no light meter, so I'm focusing on just using Sunny 16. I'm shooting with a 400 ASA film, and I've always shot one stop lower, so I'm shooting at a 250th of a second generally. So I'm not changing my shutter speed, so I'm just hoping that the 250th is accurate, and then just adjusting my aperture accordingly. But it is interesting. There is one problem that I found so far, and as Sam says, this is definitely an issue that Cartier-Bresson struggled with. Where the shutter is, the shutter release, is right next to the speed dial. There, that's the speed dial. So when you push the speed, this rotates, and that's how it adjusts the speed. My problem is when I push this with my nails, I snag this and I slow it down. So I need to adjust my fingers so that my nail doesn't interfere with the speed of the shutter, which is a unique problem to have. And so if I'm honest, I don't look through the viewfinder that much. I'll look up to see roughly what the frame is about, but I've gotten quite good to judging what's in a 35mm frame. And I also just zone focus 90% of the time, so I'll set it to whatever aperture and then base it off of 1.5 meters and go from there. So the two viewfinders doesn't really bother me. It's quite nice to have if I am still and I'm just kind of waiting. But other than that, it doesn't really bother me. A lot of people are like, viewfinders aren't great, and there are other cameras with brighter viewfinders and stuff, and that is all cool, and my Bessa's one was probably the best one that's out there. But that doesn't hinder me on this. But I'll tell you why I got this, other than the fact that it was cheap, I'm poor, and I can now use this lens again. Because I thought about it a lot, and I was like, do I get it? Their cameras are a little bit more expensive and stuff like that. And then I was like, and everyone was talking about reliability. And then I thought about it, and I was like, if I wanted reliability, I'd buy a digital camera. If I wanted I've got a Sony. If I wanted reliability, I would just use that. If I wanted great quality images that I knew exactly what I was going to get, I would use that. If that's what I wanted, I wouldn't shoot film. The beauty of film, for me anyway, is not really knowing what I'm getting. I like the fact that each photo that I take is individual to itself. I can't base each photo off of the photo before it. On digital, I can take a photo, look at the screen, go recompose, re-expose, and take it again. And yes, make it better or change it or whatever. But the beauty of film is not really knowing. And that's kind of the evolution that I've had. If I wanted film, but I wanted reliability, I'd just shoot my Nikon. That's probably one of the best film cameras that exist. The Nikon F3, and my lens on that thing is hella accurate, and I just put on aperture priority and I could just fire away and the shots are great. And I love my Nikon. So if I was gonna buy something so that I could use this lens and get the rangefinder feel, sure, if I had the money, I would go buy a Leica. If I had the money, I'd go buy a Contax. Obviously, there are cameras that I would buy if I had the money. But in terms of something cheap and something new and something different, I was like, I don't mind it. Ultimately, this is just a box. The most important thing was the lens, which I know is great. But this is a different experience for me. And I like that it's a bottom-loading camera. I've never had one of those. It's so exciting. And I love that it doesn't have a winder. I got to wind the film here with a little thing. It's all just new. And I think ultimately that's why I bought it. I was like, if it's not reliable, if the shots aren't great, then the shots aren't great. Not all of my photos are great. This just kind of adds to that mystery. It's small. It doesn't have anywhere to put a strap, which I don't know if that bothers me or not, but it's fun. Until I develop the first roll, I won't know. But I did research. I saw other photos that have been produced with this camera and they look great. I had one friend who was positive about it. And you know what? Ultimately, even if I had 100% of people say don't get it, it's not reliable, I think I probably still would have got it. Because it's not about the reliability for me. It's not about buying a camera that I know is going to work. Because if that was the case, I wouldn't be shooting film. I wouldn't be buying 70-year-old cameras. I would be investing in digital. If I knew if that's what I was shooting for. If I was doing a job, I wouldn't go and do a job with this. I would take my digital camera because that's how things work. So I got this because it's fun and it speaks to my soul and it's nice to carry and it makes me happy. And that's ultimately why I got this. And that's ultimately why I think most people shoot film, is it's the mystery. It's the lack of instant gratification. It's the magic of turning a little piece of plastic into an image and not knowing what you've got until later. You could have an idea, but you never really know. And that's the beauty of it. So yes, a lot of people told me not to get it. A lot of people said it wouldn't be reliable. A lot of people said that, I even had a friend now be like, it's going to be on eBay in a month. I never sell my cameras. So even if it is terrible, it will still be shot with and it'll still be paid with. But it is pretty. So that's my Zorki.